Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that helps you cut through the noise, giving you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on complex topics.
That's right. Think of those times you've needed to get up to speed fast, maybe for a meeting or exploring a new field, but faced, just an ocean of information.
Exactly. It can feel overwhelming. Our mission here is to extract those really important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights, without drowning you in every single detail.
We guide you through the depths, basically. And today we're tackling a really fascinating one, the intricate world of ship operations and management.
Yeah, this isn't just for the seasoned maritime pros out there. We've tailored this deep dive specifically for you. Maybe you're a new commercial entrant prepping for a big meeting on logistics, or maybe you're just really curious about how these huge vessels move goods globally.
Or what makes them tick,
I
and
know.
who's actually pulling the levers behind the scenes.
Our mission today is to give you a practical, professional overview. We'll look at key areas: ownership structures, technical operations, commercial strategy, the works.
And we'll use real-life examples, especially from dry bulk and tanker operations, to make it tangible. We really want to emphasize how crucial coordination is between all the different departments.
Plus, we'll offer some actionable tips, right, for building that strong operational awareness if you're new to the field.
Definitely. And to do this, we've gathered insights from, well, a whole range of sources. Industry experts, training modules, company profiles like Fleet Management Limited, Camp Ship, Anthony Vitter.
So, a real mix, covering everything from legal structures to the daily grind of running a ship. Okay, let's dive in. Right. First things first. Let's start at the foundation. Who actually owns these massive ships?
It sounds simple, but I get the feeling it's usually not just one person.
You're right. It's rarely that straightforward. I mean, at the most basic level, a ship owner is, well, the person or legal entity that owns a merchant vessel.
Okay.
Their job is basically equipping it and then exploiting it, using it commercially, like delivering cargo for a freight rate or hiring it out.
But they're not usually sailing it themselves. Almost never. They typically hire a licensed crew and a captain. It's not the owner personally steering the ship, generally speaking.
Got it. And you mentioned it's often not a single entity. What kind of diversity do we see in ownership?
A lot, actually. Often it's a dedicated company set up just for that ship, or maybe a few ships. But individuals can be ship owners, investment funds too.
Really, investment funds.
Yeah, and increasingly you see ships owned by banks or finance and leasing companies. They have zero operational involvement. It's purely a financial asset for them.
That leads perfectly into this distinction between legal and beneficial ownership. Can you unpack that? It sounds important, but maybe a bit confusing.
It's absolutely critical to understand who's really in control. So the registered owner is the legal title holder. Their name is literally on the ship's registration papers.
Okay, that seems clear enough.
But that registered owner could be the direct owner who also manages the ship. Or it could be a subsidiary in a big shipping group, or as we said, a bank. And then you have these things called brass plate companies.
Brass plate companies. What are those exactly? Sounds a bit shady.
Huh. Not necessarily shady, but definitely strategic. They're essentially companies created on paper, often in offshore locations, primarily for the legal purpose of owning a ship.
Why do that?
Well, mainly to limit liability for the real owners, the beneficial owners. If something goes wrong with that ship, the liability stops with that single ship company.
Ah, risk containment.
Exactly. And sometimes it's about leveraging offshore tax laws, or it might even be a requirement of the flag state, the country where the ship is registered, that the legal owner is based there.
So the brass plate is the legal owner on paper, but the beneficial owner is the one really benefiting or controlling things behind the scenes. And then there's another term, disponent owner. Where do they fit?
Right, the disponent owner adds another layer. This is typically a company that's leasing the vessel, usually under what's called a bareboat charter.
Bareboat chart.
Think of it like a long-term lease where the lessee gets full control of the ship they operated as if it's their own, covering all costs. So this disponent owner controls the operations, manages the ship day to day, even though they don't hold the legal ownership title. It really shows how financial ownership and operational control can be totally separate.
Can you give us a concrete example of this playing out?
Sure. Look at Camp Ship. Their CFO, Thijs Vlanderen, mentioned they're a fairly small team, about 21 people full-time, but they grew their own fleet from 3 ships to 10 over 6 years, buying ships regularly.
Wow, that's significant growth for a small team.
It is. And it shows how companies strategically invest in ownership. Because it's such an asset-heavy industry, they almost always need external financing, like from banks. And interestingly, Camp Ship actually outsources its technical management.
Okay, so they own the ships, but another company handles the technical side.
Exactly. It's a common model distributing responsibilities across different entities. It really highlights the complexity within these ownership structures.
Okay, that clarifies the ownership puzzle quite a bit.
Yeah.
So once the ship is owned, someone has to actually manage it day to day. Let's talk about ship management types.
Right. So fundamentally, ship management companies are professional, independent organizations. They get paid a fee by the owner, but crucially, they don't have ownership stakes in the ships they manage.
Their job is just to run the ship well.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
To ensure the ship can do what the owner wants it to do, carry cargo, earn money responsibly and profitably without having a direct financial stake in the vessel itself.
And what are the main types of management services they offer?
There are really three core types which can be mixed and matched. First is commercial management. This is purely focused on the business side.
Making money.
Exactly. Finding work for the ship that's chartering, negotiating contracts, managing the voyages, dealing with port calls, handling the finances related to the ship's earnings. It also includes things after a voyage is fixed, like managing lay time, demurrage claims, insurance stuff.
Okay, so commercial is the business end. What about keeping the ship itself running safely and efficiently?
That falls under technical management. This department is all about the physical ship. They oversee maintenance, repairs, buying spares in stores, coordinating major overhauls and dry dockings, sometimes even managing new ship construction. They ensure the vessel is seaworthy and compliant. Often, the company holding the ship's safety certificate, the document of compliance or DOC, is the technical manager.
And the third piece must be the people on board.
Absolutely vital. Crew management or manning. This covers everything related to the seafarers' recruitment, selection, training, placement, managing their contracts, and performance. It also includes all the logistics, like arranging travel for crew changes, handling payroll, usually through the ship's master. A happy, competent crew is key.
So those are the big three. Can one company do all of them?
Yes, and that's called total management. It's a comprehensive package where a single management company handles the technical, the crewing, and the commercial aspects under one roof. A full solution for the owner.
And how is this relationship between the owner and the manager set in stone? Is there a standard contract?
Yes, there is. It's almost always formalized in a contract. And the industry standard, the one you see most often, is the BIMCO Shipman 2009.
Shipman 2009.
Right. It's incredibly important because it provides a globally understood framework. It lays out all the key details. When the management starts, how much authority the manager has, exactly what services are included. Is it total management, just crewing, just technical?
So it covers the scope and authority. What else?
It details the obligations for both sides. The manager has to protect the owner's interests, perform their duties diligently. The owner has to pay on time, cooperate, provide necessary information. It also covers crucial things like insurance, hull and machinery, P&I, war risks, how money collected for the owner is handled, accounting procedures, the management fees, budgets, communication protocol.
Wow, pretty comprehensive.
It really is. Even things like the owner's right to inspect the ship, how long the contract lasts, how it can be terminated, and how disputes are resolved typically under English law and London arbitration. It standardizes a very complex relationship.
Beyond the contract, how do shipping companies structure themselves internally for efficiency?
Well, regardless of size or whether they outsource functions or keep them in-house, the structure needs to support good, fast decision-making. You'll typically find departments like operations, chartering, crewing, supplies or procurement, legal, admin, finance, and technical. They all need to work together seamlessly.
Okay, so you have the owner, the manager.
Mhm.
Next big decision. Where do you register the ship? The whole flagging up concept. How does that work alongside the idea of freedom of the seas?
That's a great question. The freedom of the high seas is a basic principle in international law, UNCLS, Article 87. Ships can navigate freely, but you need some control, right? To prevent chaos, illegal activities.
So you need rules.
Exactly. So international law sets up a framework. UNCLS Article 91 says each country, each state, can set its own rules for granting nationality to a ship and letting it fly its flag. A ship must be registered somewhere to have a nationality.
It needs a passport, basically.
Sort of, yeah. And that registration isn't just symbolic. Article 94 of UNCLS says the flag state must exercise effective control over ships flying its flag, administrative, technical, social matters. They have a responsibility to ensure ships comply with international rules.
So choosing a flag is a big strategic decision for the owner. What factors do they consider? Especially this difference between open and closed registries.
Hugely strategic. Owners look at several things. First, operational and administrative costs, they vary a lot between flags. Second, taxation. Some flags offer very attractive tax regimes. Third, crewing rules. Some flags have requirements about crew nationality or minimum manning levels.
And the rules themselves.
Right, the overall regulatory environment. How strict are the safety, labor, and environmental rules? And importantly, how well are they enforced? This leads to the choice between traditional closed registries, usually tied to the owner's country, and open registries.
Often called flags of convenience.
Exactly. Open registries let owners from any country register their ships. They often offer lower taxes, fewer restrictions, maybe more flexible labor laws. That can be commercially very appealing, though sometimes controversial.
Okay, and keeping watch over all these standards and regulations, we have the classification societies. What's their specific role? The watchdogs, as you call them.
Right. Classification societies are independent, non-governmental bodies. Think of DNV, Lloyd's Register. Their main job is to set and maintain technical standards for how ships are designed, built, and surveyed throughout their life.
So they're focused on the ship's physical integrity.
Primarily, yes, ensuring the structural soundness and reliability of key systems. This contributes massively to safety at sea and protecting the environment. They're like the independent technical auditors of the ship's condition.
And how does a ship stay in class, as they say? Is it a one-time check?
Oh no, it's continuous. Ships have a strict schedule of surveys to maintain their classification. There are annual surveys every year. Intermediate surveys, which are more thorough, happen between the second and third annuals. Then every 5 years, there's a special survey, a very comprehensive checkup covering everything to renew the main class certificate.
What if there's damage?
Then you have damage surveys done immediately after any incident that might have affected the ship's structure or machinery. It's a constant cycle of verification.
And these societies also verify compliance with major international codes, like the ISM code for safety management.
They do. The International Safety Management ISM code is mandatory worldwide. It requires shipping companies to have a safety management system, or SMS, both ashore and on each ship, covering procedures for safe operations and pollution prevention. Class societies often audit these systems. You'll see companies like Fleet Management advertising their compliance certificates from DNV for ISM, ISO 9001, environmental standards like ISO 14001, and occupational health and safety like OHSS 18001.
Are there also voluntary industry standards that go beyond the mandatory ones?
Yes, definitely. Industry groups like the International Ship Managers Association, ISMA, have their own codes of practice. They aim to push standards even higher, focusing on safe and efficient operations, preventing injuries, protecting the environment, safeguarding the owner's asset, meeting all requirements, and providing good information back to the owner. It's about aiming for best practice.
Do classification societies also issue some of the official certificates required by flag states?
Very often, yes. Flag states frequently authorize class societies to conduct surveys and issue mandatory international certificates on their behalf. Things like the SOLAS, Safety of Life at Sea certificate, and the Load Line certificate, which determines how deeply a ship can be loaded. These are based on the class surveys.
Okay, and besides these safety and structural surveys, you mentioned commercial surveys. What are those about?
Right, these are less about the ship's fundamental safety and more about protecting financial interests during commercial operations. Examples include on-hire and off-hire surveys when a ship starts or ends a charter. They check the ship's condition and, importantly, how much fuel, bunkers, is on board.
Because fuel is often paid for by the charterer.
Exactly. You also have preloading surveys to make sure the cargo holds are clean and suitable for the specific cargo being loaded. Draft surveys use the ship's displacement to calculate exactly how much cargo has been loaded or discharged. And bunkers surveys specifically check the quantity and sometimes the quality of fuel delivered, all about ensuring fairness and accuracy in the commercial transaction.
Okay, we've got the structure and compliance foundations laid. Let's shift gears to the core operational functions, the engines of the operation, starting with the absolutely critical human element, crewing. Especially challenging now, I imagine.
Incredibly so. Despite all the automation and tech, ships need people to run them. It's fundamental. And having a competent, well-supported, frankly, happy crew is paramount for a well-run ship and for achieving the owner's financial goals.
The pandemic really brought that home, didn't it?
Starkly. The restrictions on crew changes were brutal. Seafarers trapped on board for 14, 18 months sometimes, immense human suffering, and huge operational headaches for everyone. It underscored just how vital the human element is.
So given that importance, what's the overarching goal of all the crewing activities?
The main purpose is really to ensure every seafarer employed is physically fit, properly qualified, well-trained, correctly certified, suitably experienced, and just plain efficient for their specific role on board.
Why is that so critical?
Because it directly leads to the smoothest, safest possible operation of the ship and the secure transport of cargo. It minimizes the risk of accidents and dangerous situations. It's about safety and efficiency through people.
And this isn't just about finding skilled people. There are major international standards protecting seafarers' rights and setting training benchmarks, right?
Absolutely crucial ones. The MLC 2006, the Maritime Labor Convention, is often called the Seafarer's Bill of Rights. It covers everything from wages, working hours, leave, accommodation, food, medical care, comprehensive standards for decent work and living conditions. Companies must comply.
And for training.
That's the STCW Convention Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers. It sets the global minimum standards for competence. Training centers, like the Fleet Management Training Institute in Mumbai, get certified by bodies like DNV and approved by national authorities. They offer courses compliant with STCW, from basic safety refreshers to complex bridge and engine room simulation exercises.
So walk us through the crewing process. How does it work from finding someone to getting them on board?
It's quite a detailed process. Starts with recruitment and selection. Companies usually have relationships with training schools, maritime colleges, seafarers unions to find potential crew.
Then interviews, checks.
Right. Rigorous interviews. They check experience, verify all the certificates required under STCW, ensure medical fitness, and test English language skills, which is vital for safety communication under the ISM code. They keep detailed, confidential records.
And ethically, do seafarers have to pay fees to get these jobs?
That's a very important point in the MLC 2006. Generally, no. Seafarers should not bear the cost of recruitment or placement. They might pay for their own medical certificates or seaman's book, but the agency fees, visa costs, those should be covered by the ship owner or the company.
Okay, so once someone's selected, what's next? Briefing.
Yes, a thorough briefing and familiarization. Before joining, they get detailed info about the specific ship, its trade route, the rest of the crew, their employment terms, pay breakdown, company policies on safety, environment, drug and alcohol use, insurance coverage.
Sounds comprehensive.
It has to be. For new hires, they also cover things like performance reviews, career paths, disciplinary procedures, and key ISM code requirements. It's about making sure they're fully prepared and understand the expectations.
And then the massive logistical challenge of getting them from, say, the Philippines to a ship waiting in Rotterdam.
Exactly. Records in travel logistics are a huge part. Companies keep meticulous records, performance, training, everything. Copies of the Seafarer's Employment Agreement, SEA, are held by the seafarer on board and by the company. Travel arrangements are complex, checking passports, visas, vaccinations, booking flights, coordinating with port agents who physically ensure the crew gets on board safely. It's a 247 global operation.
What if something goes wrong? An accident involving a crew member?
Companies have emergency response teams, ERTs, specifically for this. There's usually a director with overall authority and, crucially, a crew manager.
What's the crew manager's role in an emergency?
They're the key link. They communicate with the ship operators, the owners, and most importantly, the seafarer's family, the next of kin, must be notified immediately. They coordinate information flow, liaise with the P&I club correspondents, the insurers, local reps, port agents, medical services, police if needed, ensuring the family is kept informed and the situation is managed effectively.
It really does come back to people, doesn't it? I remember that quote from Ruud Tissel, the fleet manager.
Yeah, it was powerful. He said, managing a fleet is not about the technology. It's about the people. Having the right people at the right place, the right chemistry on board, makes a day and night difference.
He stressed empowering them too, right?
Absolutely. Fostering a culture where crew dare to speak up, share ideas. He argued that a good, motivated crew can make even a technically challenging ship perform well. It puts the human element right at the center.
A perfect transition to the technical side, keeping the ships themselves healthy. If crewing is the human heart, this is the mechanical one.
Well put. The technical department is absolutely central. Their core job is to ensure the ships are seaworthy and well-maintained throughout their entire operational life.
So, maintenance, repairs.
Everything. All maintenance, all repairs, planning, and overseeing scheduled dry dockings. They often manage new ship construction projects, too, making sure lessons learned from operating existing ships feed into the design of new ones.
And they rely heavily on planned maintenance systems, or PMS.
Fundamentally, the Planned Maintenance System, PMS, is mandatory under the ISM card. It's a structured, proactive approach. Maintenance tasks are scheduled based on time intervals, like monthly, quarterly, or based on how many hours machinery has run, say, every 5,000 hours for a generator overhaul.
The goal is prevention.
Exactly. Prevent failures before they happen, ensure reliability, avoid unexpected, costly breakdowns, especially at sea.
And one of the biggest planned events is dry docking. What does that involve? Why is it so critical?
Dry docking is a major undertaking. The ship is literally taken out of the water into a dry dock. It's legally required, usually twice every 5 years, with an intermediate survey afloat in between.
Why take it out of the water?
It's essential for things you just can't see or do when it's afloat. Detailed inspection of the underwater hull, the propeller, rudder, sea chests. It's also when major repairs happen, structural work, hull painting, major overhauls of the main engine and auxiliary machinery, and it ensures compliance with class and statutory rules. It requires huge planning and coordination between the shore team and the ship's crew beforehand.
Okay, PMS covers the routine, dry docking covers the major scheduled work. But what about unexpected problems? Things break down.
Of course. That's where defect reporting and unscheduled maintenance come in. Defects happen. The technical superintendent, often an ex-chief engineer with deep practical knowledge, is key here.
Their experience helps spot things early.
Exactly. They might pick up subtle signs during a ship visit, a strange noise, something not running quite right. Their experience allows for anticipatory maintenance, deciding to fix something before it's scheduled in the PMS, even if it seems like an extra cost now.
Why do that?
Because it can prevent a much bigger failure down the line. Maybe a domino effect where one failure causes others. It saves money and avoids costly downtime in the long run.
And keeping operations running means having the right parts available. How critical is managing spare parts?
Hugely critical. Management of critical spare parts is about minimizing downtime. Parts are categorized. How vital are they to essential equipment like the main engine? What's the lead time to get a replacement? Some complex parts can take months.
Are there new types of critical spares now?
Yes, increasingly, parts for environmental equipment like ballast water treatment systems or exhaust gas scrubbers are becoming critical. If they fail, the ship might not be allowed to operate in certain areas. Companies strategically stock high-wear items and parts known for unpredictable failures.
Does the age of the ship make a big difference to maintenance?
Well, for machinery, if it's well maintained, the running hours and overhaul schedules might stay fairly consistent. But for things like the hull structure, inspections definitely become more detailed and stringent as a vessel gets older. Class societies pay closer attention.
We heard from Ruud de Sel at Anthony Vetter about the unique challenges with their gas carriers. Can you remind us of those?
Right, Anthony Vetter specializes in gas carriers. Ruud highlighted a few things. Their fleet of 27 ships actually has 19 different designs. Imagine trying to standardize spare parts or maintenance procedures with that level of variety. It's incredibly complex.
And gas carriers are energy hungry.
Very. They need huge amounts of power, maybe 1,000 kilowatts, just for the cargo plant to keep gas liquefied at extremely low temperatures. So they often have multiple auxiliary engines plus shaft generators for efficiency. Also, safety rules often prevent main engine work alongside terminals, so dry dockings or sometimes emergency ill jumps need meticulous planning.
But they learned from issues.
Yes, he mentioned they feed data on technical problems back to their new building team to design more reliable ships in the future. He also contrasted two-stroke engines, common on bigger ships, and often easier to maintain onboard piece by piece, with four-stroke engines, which might need complete overhauls more often. It really shows the specialized nature of technical management.
Okay, ship's healthy, crew's on board. Now it needs fuel to move. Bunkering and fuel management. Sounds like more than just pulling up to a pump.
Definitely more involved than filling your car. Bunkers is the old term for ship fuel. Mostly it's heavy intermediate fuel oil, IFO, for the main engines, and lighter marine diesel oil, MDO, for generators and auxiliary engines.
And it's absolutely essential.
It's the lifeblood. For propulsion, for maneuvering in ports, for generating electricity, for everything onboard cargo pumps, lights, navigation, accommodation, everything.
And the cost must be a massive factor in voyage economics.
Huge. Bunker costs are often the single largest operating expense for a ship, so efficient bunkering is critical. The route an operator chooses directly impacts fuel consumption. Small changes in speed or route can swing the profitability of a voyage significantly.
What about safety during the actual bunkering operation, transferring huge amounts of fuel?
Safety is paramount. Bunkering procedures are strictly controlled under the ship's Safety Management System, SMS. They require detailed risk assessments, clear controls to prevent spills, and contingency plans just in case a spill happens. Crew training is vital.
And before fuel delivery starts, there are careful calculations, not just guessing how much is needed.
No guesswork allowed. Meticulous calculations are crucial. How much space is actually available in the tanks? What's the maximum volume they can safely take? Controlling valves, setting safe loading rate slower at the start and finish. Special care for double-bottom tanks. Verifying the ship's tank gauges are accurate.
And making sure there's enough to get to the next port, plus a safety margin.
Exactly. Enough for the next leg, plus reserve for bad weather or delays. And crucially, these bunker calculations have to be done alongside calculating the maximum cargo the ship can lift, considering drought restrictions en route. It's all interconnected.
It's not just the price of the fuel itself, is it? What are the other costs involved in bunkering?
Good point. Beyond the fuel price per ton, you have barge costs if it's delivered by barge, the cost of the fuel the ship burns just sailing to the bunkering location, extra port dues if bunkering import, jetty fees, and the cost of the ship's time being delayed while bunkering. It all adds up.
And fuel quality is a big concern too, with volatile prices.
Massive concern. Getting the right type and, critically, the right quality of bunker fuel is paramount. Poor quality or contaminated fuel can cause catastrophic, expensive engine damage. Bunker prices themselves are incredibly volatile.
What drives the price swings?
Several things. Quality, better fuel usually costs more. Basic supply and demand in a specific port, scarcity drives prices up. And external factors, maybe the delivery barge is damaged, bad weather delays loadings, port congestion. These can all impact price and availability almost instantly.
So how do ship operators manage all this complexity and volatility day to day? What tools do they use?
They rely on a constant flow of information. They get bunkers reports from suppliers all over the world detailing fuel grades, prices, availability, waiting times. They use specialized software for complex calculations.
What goes into those calculations?
Everything. The ship specs its dead weight, fuel consumption at different speeds, freshwater needs, fuel availability and prices at the loading port, discharge port, potential intermediary ports, even considering if a small route deviation to bunker somewhere cheaper makes sense. How much fuel is already on board? Consumption rates at sea versus in port? Actual sailing distances? It's a continuous optimization puzzle.
Sounds like a constant tightrope walk between cost savings and managing risk, requiring good coordination internally.
It really is. Operators need to keep the technical team updated on any specific fuel requirements from the charter party. They need to remind the engine room crew to be vigilant about quality. This is especially true on time charter, where the charterer buys the fuel, so the owner's manager loses direct control over quality.
So sometimes paying more is safer.
Often, yes. We heard from operator Christos Basov about the play-safe approach. Maybe you bunker at a berth in Singapore where it's more expensive but very reliable, rather than risk a cheaper anchorage bunkering off South Africa where bad weather could cause huge delays or bigger problems. It's about balancing immediate cost against potential long-term risks and liability.
Okay, the ship's fueled, crewed, maintained. But it needs countless other things to operate. Let's talk procurement and the supply chain. Equipping the vessel.
Right. Procurement or supplies is the function of getting everything else the ship needs for safe, efficient operation, from engine spares to food. Having an efficient supply chain for all this is absolutely essential for a ship management company.
And this has to be a global operation, right? Ships are everywhere.
Completely global. It means setting up and managing a worldwide network of suppliers, leveraging their expertise in freight forwarding, warehousing, supply chain logistics, working with ship agents in ports everywhere. The goal is always timely, cost-effective delivery, using the right transport mode for the urgency and cost.
What sort of items are we talking about? The range must be huge.
Immense. Ships, obviously engine parts, pump parts, parts for environmental systems, cabin stores, paints, ropes, wires. Chemicals. Fresh provisions absolutely vital for crew morale. Bonded stores, tobacco, alcohol, navigation charts and publications, electrical supplies. Honestly, the list is almost endless. Everything a small, self-sufficient floating community needs.
Can you simplify the procurement process for us? How does it flow from a need on the ship to delivery?
Okay, simplified. 1. Requisition from vessel. Usually starts with the master sending a list of required items. 2. Internal review. The purchasing department ashore gets the list, checks it against inventory records. Maybe they already have that spare part. 3. Supplier selection. Based on what's needed, engine parts, food, paint, and where the ship is going, they send inquiries to potential suppliers. They often use standardized catalogs like MPA or ISA to ensure they get the right item. If it's a new port, they research local vendors.
Then quotes come back.
Right. 4. Quotation and comparison. Vendors send quotes. Purchasing compares prices, but also payment terms, availability, quality, delivery readiness. 5. Order placement and delivery. They place the order, arrange the delivery details mode, timing coordinating closely with the port agent for smooth delivery to the ship side.
Is there a check after delivery?
Yes, crucial step. 6. Post-delivery verification. Purchasing follows up on reports from the ship, master, chief officer, chief engineer, about the quantity and quality received. Any issues are noted for future supplier evaluations. 7. Invoice processing. Finally, the supplier sends the invoice. It gets checked against the quote by purchasing, processed by disbursements, and paid by finance accounts. It's a full cycle.
And all this generates data that can be used for budgeting and cost control.
Absolutely. Procurement tracks historical prices, analyzes consumption per vessel, compares it to budgets or sister ships. This helps identify cost trends, informs management about running costs, and is vital for accurate budgeting for future operations. It directly impacts the company's bottom line.
And procurement must work hand in glove with the technical and operations teams.
Constantly. The technical superintendent often approves orders to ensure they fit the budget and operational need. Purchasing builds long-term relationships with key suppliers, engine makers, shipyards, not just for price, but for reliability, quality, and crucial support in emergencies. That collaboration, as the Anthony Vander manager stressed, is key.
Okay, we've covered the nuts and bolts of keeping the ship running. Now let's get to the heart of the business, commercial management and finance. This is where the money's made, right? Where the rubber meets the road.
That's exactly it. At the end of the day, owners buy ships to get a good return on their investment. And that happens by keeping the vessel employed, finding the best charter, the best job for it, constantly to maximize earnings. The voyage estimated to bring in the highest income is always the goal.
So chartering is the absolute core commercial activity.
It really is. It involves hunting for potential jobs for the ships, negotiating the terms of those jobs, and then finalizing the contracts, the charter parties. The aim is always to secure the best possible employment, optimize earnings, and position the ships smartly for whatever the market does next. It's very dynamic.
And deciding which job is best involves predicting profitability. That's voyage estimating.
Precisely. Voyage estimating is the tool used to figure out if a potential voyage will be profitable using estimated figures for income and costs. A ship owner uses it to compare different voyage options and pick the most lucrative one. A charterer might use it to compare different ships and choose the cheapest overall option for their needs.
But it's just an estimate, right? Not set in stone.
Absolutely. It's an educated guess. There are so many variables. Bunker prices can change. Weather can cause delays. Port costs might be higher than expected. The actual profit or loss isn't known until the voyage is completely finished and all the bills are paid.
So its main value is for comparison.
Exactly. Its primary use is comparing potential voyages or charter options side by side to see which looks best on paper. You need a consistent method to make the comparisons valid.
What key information goes into making a decent voyage estimate? It sounds complex.
It needs a lot of data. Key ship information. Its cargo capacity, its speed, its fuel consumption at different speeds. The validity period for the estimate costs change fast. The voyage specifics. Loading ports, discharging ports where the ship will be available afterwards for the next voyage calculation. Any canal transits, Suez, Panama, add time and cost.
And cargo details are critical too, not just how much it weighs.
Very critical. The type of cargo, its stowage factor, how much space it takes up per ton, the total quantity. And a really important point, a ship's total carrying capacity, its dead weight, DWAT, includes fuel, water, stores, everything. So you need to calculate the dead weight available for cargo, DWCC.
Because fuel load affects cargo capacity.
Precisely. Bunkering plans, the season, which affects the ship's load line, even water salinity affect how much cargo you can actually load. Draft limits in ports or canals also restrict cargo quantity. It's a complex calculation just to figure out the maximum payload.
And all this happens against the backdrop of the shipping market dictating the price. The freight rate.
Right. The freight rate is mostly pure supply and demand. How much cargo is out there versus how many suitable ships are available. If there's more cargo than ships, it's an owner's market, rates go up. If there are too many ships chasing too few cargoes, it's a charterer's market, rates go down. Owners use the voyage estimate to see if the current market rate meets their profit target before they even offer their ship.
Okay, once a deal is struck, you need different types of contracts or charters depending on how the ship is employed. What are the main ones?
There are three main types of charter contracts. The simplest, perhaps, is the voyage charter. That's an agreement to carry a specific amount of a specific cargo between named ports. The owner gets paid freight for that specific trip, like hiring a truck for one delivery.
Okay, one specific trip. What if you need the ship for a set period of time?
That's a time charter. The ship is hired for a defined period, maybe months, maybe years. The charterer pays a daily rate called hire, usually paid in advance. Critically, under a time charter, the charterer usually pays for variable costs like fuel and port charges, and they decide where the ship goes and what cargoes it carries within the agreed limits, like leasing a car long-term and paying for gas.
And the most comprehensive type, where the charterer takes almost complete control.
That's the bareboat charter, sometimes called a demise charter. Here, the ship is leased out completely bare, no crew, no stores. The charterer takes full operational control and responsibility, mans it, supplies it, operates it almost as if they owned it, covering all costs. It's the closest thing to ownership without holding the title.
How are these agreements formally documented, especially if there are changes to standard terms?
The formal legal document is the charter party. There are many standard forms used in the market, often specific to certain trades, like ASP Tank Boy for crude oil tankers or BP forms for clean petroleum products. They contain standard clauses.
But deals often have specific tweaks, right?
Always. Any changes, additions, or clarifications agreed during negotiations between the owner, charterer, and any brokers involved are documented in what's called a fixture recapitulation or recap. This recap summarizes all the agreed terms, including deviations from the standard charter party, and essentially becomes the binding agreement reflecting the specific deal.
Then comes collecting the money crucial for cash flow. How does revenue management differ between time charters, hire, and voyage charters, freight?
Timely collection is vital for survival. For hire collection on a time charter, the hire is usually a daily rate, paid in advance, maybe every 15 days or 30 days.
Are there common deductions?
Yes. Often deductions for address commission, a sort of discount for the charterer, and brokerage commission, paid to the brokers who arrange the deal. Any cash the charterer advances to the master for ship's expenses in port is also deducted.
What about additions?
Sometimes, yes. The initial payment might include the value of bunkers remaining on board when the charter starts, verified by survey, maybe costs for feeding extra people on board, victualling, an agreed bonus for the positioning voyage, ballast bonus, or costs for damage caused by stevedores during the previous charter. A final account reconciles everything when the ship is redelivered.
Okay, and for freight collection on a voyage charter?
Freight is the payment for carrying the specific cargo. It's usually calculated per ton of cargo actually carried, or sometimes as a lump sum for the whole voyage, regardless of the exact tonnage loaded, often with a minimum quantity guaranteed.
How are the payment terms structured?
They vary and are critical. Sometimes a percentage, say 90–95%, is prepaid within a few days of the cargo documents, bills of lading being signed, with the balance settled later. Sometimes it's fully prepaid. In the tanker trade, you often see payment before breaking bulk, BBB freight, must be confirmed, received before discharge starts. Or payment on right and true delivery, meaning after discharge is complete. Getting that cash in promptly is key for the owner's cash flow.
Ships spend time in port loading and unloading, and that time is critical financially. Explain laytime, demurrage, and dispatch.
Right. These govern the time allowed for cargo operations and the financial consequences. Laytime is the amount of time agreed in the charter party that the charterer is allowed for loading and owner discharging the cargo. It can be expressed as a rate, for example, 5,000 tons per day, or a fixed number of days. It's the allowed time.
And if they take longer?
That's demurrage. If the charterer exceeds the allowed lay time, they have to pay the ship owner damages for the delay. This is a pre-agreed daily rate. Owners want this rate to be high enough to cover their ship's daily running costs during the extra time.
What if they finish early? Is there a reward?
Sometimes, yes, mainly in dry cargo trades. That's dispatch. It's the opposite of mirage. If the charterer finishes cargo operations faster than the allowed lay time, the owner pays them a bonus. The dispatch rate is usually agreed in the charter party, often at half the demurrage rate. It's an incentive for quick turnaround.
And the crucial document that officially starts the laytime clock ticking.
That's the Notice of Readiness, or NOR. The ship's master tenders this formal notice to everyone concerned, charter's agent's terminal, stating the ship has arrived and is physically ready in all respects to start loading or discharging.
Why is it so important?
Because the charter party specifies when lay time starts counting after a valid NOR has been tendered, maybe immediately, maybe 6 hours later, maybe at 8 a.m. the next working day, it has to be tendered correctly, usually after the ship has cleared customs, free pratique, and holds are approved, if needed. A good operator ensures the master tenders it ASAP to avoid losing valuable time. If the first NOR isn't accepted, for example, holds aren't clean, it has to be re-tendered. It's a key trigger for the financial clock.
This all flows into the final piece, finance and accounts, the department that tracks the bottom line and keeps the whole operation financially sound.
Absolutely pivotal. Finance and accounting manage the budgets, handle all the money coming in and going out, and provide regular financial reports for each ship, each department, the whole company. They provide the financial visibility needed for control and decision-making.
What are the key financial terms someone new to the commercial side should grasp?
Several key ones. Operating budgets are essential for planning and control. They set targets for daily spending and expected revenue for each ship, allowing managers to track performance. Then there's OPEX, or operating expenses.
The daily running costs.
Exactly. All the costs to run the ship day to day, crew wages and related costs, food, victualling, stores, lubricating oils, insurance premiums, including P&I calls, routine maintenance and repairs, spare parts, communication costs. Dry docking costs are huge, but usually spread out or amortized over the period between dry docks. Companies use historical OPEX from similar ships to forecast budgets.
And the big investments. Buying ships.
That's CapEx, or capital expenditures. Major investments, primarily buying new ships or secondhand ones. Finance arranges the funding, loans, leases for these huge outlays. And another vital metric is TCE, earnings time charter equivalent.
Explain TCE again. Why is it so important?
TCE is like the industry's standard yardstick for comparing ship earnings. It converts the earnings from a voyage charter, which includes voyage costs like fuel, into an equivalent daily hire rate. This allows you to compare the profitability of ships on different types of charters, voyage versus time, on an apples-to-apples basis. It shows the ship's pure daily earning power.
And what about all the specific costs incurred in ports? Disbursements.
Right. Disbursements cover all the expenses a ship incurs during a port call. The ship's operator usually gives the first check and approval as they know what the ship needed. Then, specialist disbursement accountants meticulously check every single invoice.
What kind of costs are included?
A whole range. The port agent's fee for their services, the actual port dues and charges, which depend on ship size, berth use, etc., pilotage fees, tugboat costs, mooring gang costs, stevedore costs, though sometimes paid by charterers, costs for any surveys done in port, maybe crew medical expenses.
Do these port costs vary a lot?
Hugely. From port to port, country to country. They're often based on the ship's registered tonnage, GRT, NRT, or dimensions, low draft. The type of berth used also affects costs. The local agent gives an estimate upfront, then submits the final account with all supporting invoices after the ship leaves. Disbursements team checks it, operator approves, finance pays. Some costs, like cargo taxes, might be for the charterer's account depending on the contract.
Managing all this finance, especially funding fleet growth, requires a strategic approach from the CFO.
Absolutely. Someone like Thijs Vlanderen at Campship plays a key role. In this asset-heavy industry, securing external financing is crucial. They negotiate with banks on loan terms, loan-to-value ratios. Banks might lend, say, 70% of the ship's value. Interest rates, repayment schedules. The ship's age and type heavily influence the bank's terms.
And they need to know if a potential ship purchase makes financial sense.
Definitely. They calculate the break-even cost per day for a potential ship that includes loan interest and repayment, OPEX, insurance. They compare this break-even rate to expected market earnings, like TCE. If the break-even is too high compared to market rates, the deal might not work, or they need better financing, or a lower purchase price. The CFO also notes that when shipping markets are strong, banks are more eager to lend, and competition increases, potentially offering better financing deals to owners with good track records.
And with these huge sums, internal controls and using technology must be critical.
Non-negotiable. Strong internal controls, like segregation of duties. One person shouldn't be able to approve a $200,000 bunker order alone. Companies increasingly rely on ERP, enterprise resource planning systems, and digital dashboards, like PowerBuy.
What do these systems provide?
They offer a helicopter view of the whole business, from a broker's initial cargo inquiry right through to the final voyage profit loss. They allow easy access to detailed data on ship performance, earnings on specific routes, even things like vessel emissions data. This supports faster, better informed decisions and helps with internal auditing.
It's so clear that this is all a complex dance, a symphony needing perfect coordination. How vital is that link between all the different departments?
It's everything. You can't operate effectively in silos. Ship management needs that integrated approach, pulling together knowledge from management, economics, engineering, law, technology. What one department does directly affects others. A delay in crewing impacts operations. A technical problem impacts commercial availability.
Which department often acts as the central coordinator, the hub?
Often, it's the operations department. Their core job is maximizing the ship's economic and safe use through planning and scheduling. That means constant coordination internally with technical, commercial, finance, crewing, supplies, and externally with the ships themselves. Charterers, port authorities, agents, they're the nexus point.
Give us another example of that essential technical commercial link.
Sure. The operator needs to tell the technical team about specific charter requirements. Maybe a certain bunker grade is needed, or the ship needs to maintain a certain speed. Conversely, if the technical team says the ship needs urgent repairs, an ill jump to dry dock, that immediately impacts its commercial schedule and earnings. They need constant, clear communication and mutual understanding of each other's priorities and constraints.
And the supply chain needs to be perfectly timed, too.
Absolutely. Procurement has to work seamlessly with operations, technical, and port agents worldwide. Getting thousands of items, from critical engine spares to fresh vegetables for the crew, delivered on time, cost-effectively. A failure here means delays, potential off-hire, unhappy crew. It all has to mesh.
And finance relies on accurate info from everyone to steer the ship financially.
Exactly. Finance needs timely, accurate data from operations, technical, commercial, crewing to manage budgets, track costs, bill revenue correctly. That financial feedback then helps guide operational decisions. It all comes down to seamless communication. Clear lines, documenting things properly, using modern tools for shared information. And in emergencies, that instant cross-departmental communication is paramount for effective response.
Let's bring this to life with more real-world examples. The challenges sound quite different depending on the type of ship, like tankers.
Definitely. For chemical tankers, Camp Ship's CFO mentioned their ships have made 20 separate stainless steel tanks. This lets them carry many different chemical grades for multiple customers on one voyage. Imagine the complexity, careful cargo planning, ensuring no contamination between grades, complex loading and discharge sequences at potentially many ports. It's intricate.
And gas carriers, as we heard from Anthony Vetter, have their own unique set.
Very unique. Highly expensive, specialized ships. Remember, 19 different designs in their fleet of 27 a nightmare for standardization. Huge power demands for cargo cooling. Safety rules restricting engine work in port, demanding meticulous dry dock planning. And that crucial feedback loop where operational problems inform the design of their next generation of ships.
What about the realities in dry bulk? Does the cargo itself create big operational challenges?
Immensely. Iron ore can be oily, needing chemical cleaning afterwards. Coal is dusty, needing washing. Grain needs holds to be incredibly clean, almost like a hospital, to avoid contamination claims.
Does ship size matter here?
Yes. Big ships, like Capesize, usually carry just one or two main cargoes like ore or coal, which simplifies hold preparation. But smaller handy-size or Panamax ships, 25, 60,000 tons, are much trickier for operators. They're versatile, so they might carry anything. Operators often have to prepare for the worst-case scenario, assuming they need a full chemical clean, even if the next cargo is less sensitive just to be ready. That adds cost for cleaning equipment and supplies.
And operators are constantly juggling voyage plans against real-world risks like weather.
Constantly monitoring performance against the initial estimate. And yes, external risks are huge. Christos Spasov described facing typhoons causing massive delays, losing maybe $40,000, $50,000 for each lost day. That's why they rely on professional weather routing services.
They advise safer routes.
Yes, providing daily forecasts and recommending the safest, most optimal route, even if it's longer or means delaying departure to avoid a storm. The cost of delay is usually far less than the potential cost of a multi-million-dollar cargo damage claim, or worse. Safety always comes first in those situations.
And when incidents do happen, groundings, cargo damage, how does insurance work, and what's the operator's role?
Real incidents happen. A ship grounds, a pipe bursts, and damages cargo. That's where marine insurance is vital. Hull and machinery covers damage to the ship, while protection and indemnity, P&I, covers liabilities to third parties, like cargo owners or pollution cleanup. It literally keeps the business afloat after a major incident.
And the operator is usually the first responder.
Often, yes, they're the first call. They must notify the insurers immediately. P&I clubs are available 204/7. They might need to instruct the master to preserve evidence, maybe hold damaged cargo on board until an insurer's surveyor can inspect it. Acting quickly and correctly is vital. If damaged cargo is discharged before assessment, proving the cause and extent of damage becomes much harder and claims can skyrocket. An experienced operator knows exactly when to involve lawyers, claims handlers, and how to manage the insurers.
This has been incredibly insightful. Okay, for someone new listening wanting to build a career on the commercial side, what are your top practical tips?
Okay, based on what we've heard from the experts. Tip number 1, echoing rude to sell. Be radically curious and understand the big picture. Don't just focus on your small piece. Ask questions. Drink coffee and listen, as he said. Try to see how a small technical issue might impact the ship's commercial schedule or costs. Always ask, could it be something else? Are we missing something? That curiosity drives better risk assessment.
Good advice. What's number 2?
Second, cultivate a strong network across the industry. Shipping is built on relationships. Connect with brokers, technical people, finance experts, suppliers, agents. Go to industry events, listen more than you talk initially. As CFO Tu-S Valanderen noted, networking opens doors, gives you insights, helps you find solutions, and builds your own professional profile.
Makes sense? Third tip, getting that overview.
Yes. Third, develop robust operational awareness with a dose of patience. Get that helicopter view of the whole process, from initial chartering inquiry to final voyage accounting. Modern systems give you data, but you need to interpret it, anticipate problems, make quick decisions when needed, but also, crucially, have patience. Trust your team, especially the master and crew, as Christos Spasov advised. Let them use their expertise to solve problems. Don't micromanage from afar.
Excellent point about patience and trust. What about risk?
Fourth, prioritize safety and prudent risk management. Safety of the crew, the ship, the cargo, the environment must always come before short-term profit. Always. Think like Christos Spasov, calculating the risks of bunkering in bad weather versus the cost. It's usually far better to play safe, incur a small cost or delay, than risk a catastrophic accident or huge claim. Be the turtle, not the hare sometimes.
And the final piece of advice for thriving long-term.
The fifth, embrace continuous learning and adaptability. This industry never stands still. New tech, new regulations, geopolitical shifts, it's constantly changing. Recognize, as the experts implied, there's always more to learn, always room for improvement. Treat every challenge, even the stressful ones, as a learning opportunity. Be adaptable, absorb new information daily. It's a dynamic career path.
What a comprehensive journey through ship operations and management. We've covered so much ground, from ownership structures and flagging, right through to the daily operations, technical, crewing, commercial, financial.
We really have, and hopefully it's clear how interconnected it all is. Every decision, from choosing a fuel supplier to managing crew training, plays a crucial role in that vessel's safe and profitable voyage. It truly is a complex symphony.
And for anyone starting out in this industry, the key takeaways seem to be about a coordination, detailed planning, sharp financial oversight, and never forgetting the vital human element at the core of it all.
Exactly. Each function is a critical piece in this massive, constantly moving global puzzle.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering the huge scale of maritime trade and the constant push for efficiency, safety, and sustainability, what single, maybe seemingly small operational detail, if we could truly master or innovate it, do you think holds the key to the next big leap forward for a modern commercial fleet?
Something to ponder. The knowledge is vast, the challenges are real, but the opportunities are immense too. Keep exploring, keep learning.
The deep dive continues.